Marstons there, Billy in, a goal, Chris Billy, Huddersfield Town. The most famous goal of Chris Billy's life.
Is this the moment for Lee Fowler? It is. Take your place in Division 2, Huddersfield Town.
Ruby and Steve Simonson's boots now. He's missed. Steve Simonson clears the frame of the goal and collapses in a heap of tears. Huddersfield Town are promoted.
Mustafa Schindler has a chance to write his name in Huddersfield Town legend. And he takes that chance!
Hello and welcome back to the Andy Takes That Chance podcast. Liam Manning's Chargers had won 3 games out of 3 heading into Saturday's game against Blackpool. The transfer window had shut and was widely lauded by Town fans and media personnel as an excellent one. So with things going well on and off the field, why did I wake up on Saturday morning and think, something's not quite right here. Things are going way too well. It's about this time that Charity FC rears its unwelcome head. Blackpool, with the second worst away record in League One, having won once in their last 7 games, they weren't going to upset the new wave of optimism in HD1, surely. And football can't be that frustrating, can it?
It can.
It can indeed, Mick. Killer, Town lined up in the 3-4-3 system. There were a couple of things that we wanted to see happen in the drive-in on the preview show, and one was Sorensen on the right and Alves in to run at a defence that doesn't like being run at. Neither happened, but when Humphreys was announced in the front 3, it was like, all right, maybe he deserves it for the goal he scored last week against Peterborough. We can live with that. That's fine. But Lyndon Gooch just looks a little bit out of form at the minute, doesn't he? He's just not quite where he was a couple of weeks ago.
No, he looks a total different player, to be honest. Everybody in the squad seems to have progressed and improved under Liam Manning, whereas I think if you look at Gooch, for whatever reason, he seems to have regressed a little bit. Maybe it's more that the system isn't perfect for him, or Sorensen's playing a lot better and that pressure's getting to him somewhat, Matt, but he's definitely not the Gooch that we saw earlier on in the season, which is quite surprising again, because that's the outlier of the entire squad, really. The team selection for me, Matt, was questionable in theory, in that obviously we went through this on the drive-in last week, in the way Blackpool defend is they're very strong, they're very narrow, they're very tough to beat in any other way other than running the ball at them. You have to get big men moving, you have to get them dragged out of position and trying to hit them quick, and we did eventually get to that point, but to start off with, the squad very much, the 11 very much wasn't that kind of attacking system. But I understand why. I will preface everything I'm going to say on the back of, I understand what Liam Manning's done here, in that he's rewarded players that have won 3 games in a row. More or less, there is a tweak, like you say, with Sorensen and Gooch, but with the rest of it, other than forced changes, I kind of understand the desire to keep the guys in that have actually done really well for the last few games. Although when you're looking at the game as a team, as an individual team, Blackpool, the 11 we started with weren't perfect for it, and I think that was something that was quite predictable, and the way the game started for me wasn't something that I found unpredictable either. It was Blackpool were a lot better though, Matt, I think, than what we expected. Obviously, they brought in 2 lads on deadline day in the Caroy Anderson, who played for Charlton previously, and the guy from up at Aberdeen, Leighton Clarkson, and the pair of them changed the Blackpool midfield, and I think that had a big knock-on effect to how Town went about, or tried to go about, their business for the game.
Yeah, so Town have a fairly good opening 15. Blackpool, like you say, have thrown in 3 debutants. They've got Leighton Clarkson, Carell Anderson, and Walters as well, plays on the right-hand side. So there's 3 debutants in. The good work in the first 15 sort of centres around Dion Charles for us. Balker throws the ball in, Charles turns one man, goes past Brown, and then nutmegs Michael Hickway before smashing a shot past Peacock Farrell, which comes back off the post, hits Peacock Farrell on the arm, and then hits the post again before going wide. Bailey Peacock Farrell takes this as an opportunity to go down, holding his head, to waste 2 or 3 minutes to slow the game down. Kind of thing we all hate, kind of thing that we all understand because our goalkeepers do it anyway. So, everyone does it. Then from another throw-in on the right, this time from Gooch, Charles wriggles through 2 defenders and he puts it on a plate for Barley Mumba, who, if he was a few inches taller than 5'6", is probably opening the scoring, putting a different complexion on the entire game. But for 15 minutes, Town were pretty good. They were the ones on the front foot. They just didn't quite have the same intensity that the other games had in the start, but they were slightly better at this point. And we'll talk about how Blackpool come into it. But after this, Dion Charles is pretty anonymous throughout the game. He has a brilliant 5-minute flurry here. And I know things are going on behind him after which aren't perfect at all, and obviously don't lend into his strengths. But when you're missing Bojan and Ryan Hardy through injury and Alfie May through suspension, it's a good time to show that he can lead the line for us and be the man, but it's just not quite happening, is it, for him? And it's not really happened over the last 12 months. He's got, 2 goals in a year? It's. I'm sure he's as frustrated as we are because he's trying. It's just things are just nothing ever seems to be quite right for him, does it?
No, it's not, Matt. But before the game, when they all do the lining up and they shake everyone's hand, did you see the size of every Blackpool player? Honestly, they were massive compared to all the Town lads. So Dion Charles isn't that figurehead no matter who we're playing against. But when you're looking at the likes of Casey and the other lads in the defence line, even like say CJ Hamilton playing as a wing back, they were massive. They're huge.
Yeah,
Dion Charles,
6'4".
They are absolutely huge. Hakeem Ahikwe, is it, who plays at the central of the centre backs? Yeah. He's massive. They're all absolutely huge. So Dion Charles was never going to be that. Like you say, Matt, I think this is a good example of where the first 10 minutes of a game is normally irrelevant to the rest of it, in that you're right, Town started okay. It didn't really come down the middle. It came out wide from throw-ins. And like you said, Dion Charles, he takes on 4 players before smashing it against the post, which is unbelievable and is as good as anything he's done at any point. For the second chance when he's put it across to Barley Mumba, I think it hits where the goalie's standing. And now I know it's a wet day, but still, the ground is pretty dry when it's got undersoil heating, and you can see it bounce up a little bit more than I think Barley Mumba expected it to. He should have done better. Walters was on the line and may have been able to clear it anyway, but 2 decent, really good pieces of work by Dion Charles. But like you say, Matt, from then on out, he just disappeared from the game. But I don't think, not only was it not a defensive line where his press was going to work anyway, when you had the support that he had, the supporting cast, Harness didn't really do too much early on, to be honest, I didn't think. And then you had on the other side Humphreys, who was as vacant in pretty much the entire his entire game, as Ben Wiles was, as most people would say. I think it was a good comparison. It was very like that, where the game just didn't go that way. The entire system of Town shifted 10 minutes in that, to me, Blackpool won that central midfield battle, Matt. I think we didn't expect to see the bite that they had, and it took Ryan Ledson and Marcus McGuane out of the game entirely. And now in the games up until this one under Liam Manning, Marcus McGuane has looked a class above everybody else. And I'm not going to say he's had a poor game, apart from one moment after going 2-0 down. But he didn't have a bad game. It was just, we were outnumbered in the midfield. So it just meant Town had to attack down the wings more and more and more, or trying to go long. But when there's no press, when there's no tempo up top, when there's no even attempt of a trigger, it just kept coming back and back and back. And then Town got deeper and deeper and deeper. And that happened 10 minutes in. And that pattern of play continued from 10 minutes in until about the 40th minute. And Town had no idea at all how to get past it. And to be fair, Matt, it's the first time in these 4 games, where we've looked lost. Town looked lost from 10 minutes. It's as if we didn't expect Blackpool to go about it that way, and we didn't know what we wanted to do. What I will say, though, is when this happened previously under the manager previously, Lee Grant, he wouldn't really react himself on the touchline. We sit very close together, sometimes next to each other. Liam Manning was fuming with the way that game was going from 10 minutes in. He was all over the place. He was screaming at the defence to step up. He was asking the wing backs to go a little bit narrow. We kind of went back to that really wide system where Barliman was on the right hand side, really far on the right. Gooch is on the left hand touch line as soon as the centre back gets it, and it just made it easy for Blackpool to defend against. But again, Manning did see this, and he was absolutely frothing with the way Town went about it, because he could sense what was coming, just as most of us, I think, could sense in the crowd.
Yeah, I was going to say this for later on, but basically Anderson dropped in, didn't he? So they played the same system as us, but Karel Anderson dropped in to Marcus McGuane, and that took McGuane out of the game completely. Ryan Ledson then had to be the one who stepped up, and he struggled, really. Cameron Humphreys then tried to drop back too deep, and that took Cameron Humphreys out of the game because he couldn't get into the game in either the middle or the final third. It was good from Blackpool. I think they got the tactical battle right from the start, and they score, don't they? I think, to be honest, it's their first real opportunity that they score from. It's not. I don't think the goal had been coming at this point. The ball gets crossed in. Balker tries to clear it out for a throw-in, but mishits it, and it goes out for a corner. They put the ball. We said on the driving, you got to watch them set pieces, didn't we? And this was a really, really weird set piece to watch. And I'm not sure if this was by design or not. I don't think it was. But Clarkson appears to overhit the corner, but I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt because Leighton Clarkson is a very good footballer, and I'm very surprised he's dropped from the Scottish Premier League to League One. I would have thought he'd have gone into the Championship because I do think he's a great signing for Blackpool. Is that he pings it right to the far post, where ex-Town loanee Jim Husband is on the far side, and I think Jim Husband tries to return it into the 6-yard area and overhits it, but Leighton Clarkson just, from being the corner taker, just also flies in, doesn't he, to sort of return the ball. And Town are still stuck in that zonal. And what I don't like about Town is they tend to have the 3 defence centre-backs being zonal and everyone else man marks. But it's only the 3 centre-backs that can effectively mark, which is really frustrating. No one else is particularly good at marking. Ryan Ledson a little bit. But Gooch, Harness, then they're not brilliant markers from set pieces. And Fletcher was quite clever in a lot of what he did. I thought his movement was good all game, but his execution was horrendous at times, but also good at others. And this is one where it was good. He just pulls off the zone, doesn't he? And Leighton Clarkson pulls it back to him. Nichols should do better, I think, on this one. Talk us through your thoughts on this, because I just thought it's an opportunistic goal from Blackpool. Not quite a second phase set piece, is it? Because it's still live, but it's just this where Town's zonal defending just kind of irritates me a bit, and it never quite works as it should.
You can't go through a full season without conceding goals. You're going to concede goals. It's how it goes, right? For me, this is one that you kind of put down as it's poor, but it happens in football. Because for me, Matt, to be fair, Husband, they were a corner beforehand where he was free at the back post again. Now, what they did was they had 2 big men, Blackpool, on the back, 2 lads of ours, which were Harness and Gooch. And I think it was CJ Hamilton, the giant, and Casey, number 4, who played at the back, who was massive as well. Their job was basically to clear out Harness and Gooch, leaving Husband free on the back post. I think he overhit it as well, to be honest, Matt. But anyway, Husband goes and collects it. And like you said, we've got our 3 zonal markers. You've got your 3 centre-backs, the best headers of the ball. They stand on the edge of the 6-yard box, 1 front post, 1 back post, 1 in the middle. And now that's fine for the initial corner. But what happens when Husband puts it back in and he overhits it massively? Town think it's going out. I'm set on this. I think Town think it's going out. Nichols thinks it's going out. And to be fair, though, I think Blackpool think it is as well. Until Clarkson gets there, as you say, last moment, he curves his run, but he doesn't set off until the ball's already in the air. Now, I've had a bit of a disagreement with Pozza on this, in that he thinks this is a design play from the off. I don't think Husband's ball back across is designed. I think he's made a bit of a mess of it. Clarkson's clever enough to get there, pulls it back, and Fletcher doesn't really have to move. He does pull off the zonal markers, but I think it's more circumstantial. I don't think it's designed at all at that point, and it's just put back in the mixer, and he's got to it first. And like you say, Nichols, could he have done better? Probably. It was actually Ledson's man, Fletcher, throughout the corner, but he does leave him at that point, and then Balker's closest to him, so he's getting a few pelts from fans I've seen saying that he should have got closer to Fletcher. But again, it happens so quickly, and when you're transitioning from a zonal to a marking system, then this is what happens, and this is how it gets lost. For me, Matt, the issue is leaving Husband at the back post, but that's a systemic decision. That's not an error. That's Town deciding to go zonal in the middle, and if you do that, you're going to have fewer men in the box to man mark, and you have to leave the guys on the periphery, which is Husband. But this is what can happen. It's one of those things where I don't like how Town defend the corner to start off with. So when there's errors within the corner, within the set piece, I don't really like to blame individuals so much on this stuff, because I think it's more the way we've gone about it means this can happen. It's not great to concede any goal, of course it's not, and there's things that people could have done better, but when you set out with 3 zonal markers, this is the downside to it if it doesn't work out for you.
I think if you have 3 zonal markers, you have to have people that are good at defending the box, other than your zonal markers, effectively, and we're not on this occasion. And one thing that's really nipped, like I say, one thing that really nipped Town in the backside was the McGuane man marking issue, and it shows up on the second Blackpool goal as well. Blackpool score with, I think that's basically their second attack. They have another corner where they get, I think it's Ihikwe gets around the back post after it's gone 2-0. And they do the same again, don't they? It's an overhit ball, and Michael Ihikwe could do a little bit better, and Nichols turns it over. But prior to that, there's the second Blackpool goal, and Town are really struggling. McGuane's struggling with the man marking job, and as it flips, Town. This is such a strange goal. Is this Blackpool fans I've seen have been saying what a great goal it is from their point of view, and fair enough. That's, if you look at it from an attacking point of view, I'm sure it's really good. From our point of view, it's a mess. It is, and the referee I thought was horrendous throughout. I don't really want to talk about him much more, but I thought he was atrocious throughout, and I thought he let Blackpool get away with quite a lot of robust tackles, which went a bit unpunished. But then, as I'll maybe mention later on, Ledson could have been sent off at the end, and there's other bits. So I think this is one where it kind of swung both ways a little bit, keys in the ball kind of referee. But it did swing. But this goal itself, Blackpool, they hit a diagonal out left, and this diagonal out left draws Radinho Balca right into midfield. He comes right in and marks Leighton Clarkson in the middle of the park. Why he's doing that, or why he's been instructed to do that, I've got no idea. What that does is I think at this point Town are struggling with the system, and I think Manning is looking for a defender to bite into midfield to come and stop that supply chain coming through, so Town can win the ball higher up. So I think Balca's been at this point drafted into a more advanced role, so he comes into the midfield area to watch Clarkson. But what Blackpool do is they switch the ball wide onto the left-hand side, and then Fletcher makes a run, and he makes the run, and he grabs hold of Murray Wallace, yanks Murray Wallace, which to me is a foul. Not a massive one, but it's subtle enough to be a foul. I think the referee should still give that. The ball gets played long to Fletcher. He lays it off really well then in behind, and all of Town's defence go for the ball. Feeney goes from right centre-back across to left, follows the ball. Wallace follows the ball. McGuane leaves Anderson at this point, which is his guy, and follows the ball. And they all get drawn to it like a moth to a flame. And Balca is way up the other side at this point because he's been marking Clarkson. So it is well worked from a Blackpool point of view, but from us, that is just a mess. And it shows a kind of distrust in what's going on around them and who's going man for man on this one. And the ball gets worked out to the right-hand side, comes in, Anderson then peels away to where Feeney should really be, and the ball comes in, and Balca's getting pelters again when he's been asked to step into midfield or on that right-hand side, which is not his fault. He sees it late, and he comes charging back to try win the header, but I think the task he's been given has pulled him right out of position on this one. So I can't really have the Balca slander on this one either, because I think he's caught between two bridges really here. So I think we'll have to give Blackpool some credit, I think, Killer, on this one for moving us around, or moving the parts around. Fletcher, I think, for orchestrating this. Like I say, I did think it was a foul in real time. Having watched it back, a little less slightly convinced by it, but I still think there's enough. And then they work it wide, and then sometimes you have to say, fair enough, that's decent. But from our point of view, it's a mess, really, isn't it?
Oh, it's awful. While that first goal I can kind of accept, this one's awful in about 4 different departments. First off, the press is non-existent, Matt. It's absolutely non-existent. And when you're outnumbered in midfield and you're losing that midfield battle, which we were doing from 10 minutes in, your front three have to try and force play down a specific way. I'm not entirely convinced Charles does enough here. Humphreys definitely doesn't do enough, and Gooch is totally out of position for me on this. That's in the first diagonal ball to the left-hand side. Balca stepped up to midfield, Matt, like you say, because we're outnumbered in there. And to be fair, prior to Clarkson being that spare man in that place, it was Fletcher dropping deep quite a lot into that space we've picked up on before, where Town are awful in front of the defence, behind the midfield. Not under Manning, to be fair, but again, this is the first time where we've had a slower defence, a deeper defence. Naturally, because we're outnumbered in midfield, and that gap's reappeared, and our Blackpool took full advantage of that. Balca's sent in there to try and close it down, like you said, Matt. The problem is Wallace gets done by Fletcher, Matt, and for me, I think it's fair. I don't think it is a free kick. Fletcher had the run on him. Wallace knew he wasn't going to get there. He's gone to make that contact. Whether Fletcher's got a little bit handsy in there as well, possibly. But Wallace is doing it because he knows he's in trouble. It's decent playing, like you say, though. When it gets worked out to the right side, we've still got 4v4 in the box. We've got more than enough men to see it out, but everybody gets dragged across to the. I think, is it Hamilton on the right hand side? I think it is after the run. It must be. He must have been him down the right hand side again. But everyone gets dragged across to the right, and like you said, Walters, that's it. And then Feeney's Feeney bites. Feeney does. This is why Feeney and where he shows his inexperience there. In that, like you say, moth to a flame, keeps going over and over. Totally doesn't see Anderson running in at the back post, because if he does, I think he stops his goal. I think Feeney would have been in the right position to nod it out. He's not. Ledson again's the closest person to Anderson. Once McGuane leaves him, he doesn't do the running back. Balker does, and he nearly gets there. This is the prime example of where somebody gets blamed for nearly getting back, but not quite getting back in time. It'd have been better not even bothering, because then no one would have picked him out for not being close enough for him. But like I say, when he's tasked with following Clarkson clearly, or if he hasn't, then that's definitely an issue that Manning will pick up afterwards. But like you say, I think that he was given that role to try and equal the numbers up in midfield. Unfortunately, this is a well-worked goal by Blackpool, but we had more than enough chances to get rid of that ball. That it was poor, but we were panicking. There was a moment in this game, like you say, I don't feel Blackpool were ever going to score 3, 4, 5 goals. It didn't feel like we were under the cosh, but you could just sense Town starting to panic and starting to get deeper again. And this was a great example of it, where 4 have over-corrected to try and stop the cross, leaving Anderson at the back post for a pretty straightforward finish.
Yeah, frustrating. Town 2-0 down, and all I can think of at this point is fucking Charity FC's back again. You know what I mean? It never goes away, does it? It never goes away. I don't think it ever does go away in League One. You're never going to get that perfect team who romp to 100+ points, as a Huddersfield Town fan. We don't do automatic promotion. We don't do consistency. So how could we do automatic promotion? But second half, Town, I think just before the goal, Town had gone 4-2-3-1. I think that second goal, Manning had kind of looked at it, and the Balker experiment into midfield wasn't working. So he went 4-2-3-1. Balker goes right back. You've got Feeney, Wallace, and Bali Mumba back at left back, and Ledson, McGuane, and Humphreys as your 10. Harness is then on the left, and Gooch on the right, with Dion Charles up front. It doesn't start. The second half doesn't start really well either, and I can see Manning. You can see Manning's not happy with how things are going. Town do fight back a little bit, but Nichols has to make a good save from Fletcher, and it was a better save from our angle, where we are in the Riverside, than what it looks on TV. That was a really good save that he made from Fletcher. Fletcher goes through again and butchers a chance one-on-one. Sometimes Fletcher he can do that left-footed volley and it's flying in the corner, and then other times he's so agricultural. It's like he's hitting the ball with a couple of shovels, isn't he? He's such a strange player, but I'd have him if we could have him as an option, by the way. So Town have gone 4-2-3-1. It's not really until Gooch and Feeney go off on 64 minutes, though, where things start to change. And I think what's quite good is Liam Manning sees the issues in midfield, and he addresses that. Firstly, he tries to put Kasumu at 10. That wasn't really going to work, because I know Blackpool were playing out a little bit from the back, but they also hit a lot of diagonals. And if they're hitting diagonals before you can press them, then Kasumu as a number 10 isn't going to work, is he? So Kasumu comes on initially as a 10, but after sort of 7 or 8 minutes, he gets moved back into midfield next to Ryan Ledson. And under Lee Grant, that was the worst midfield I've ever seen. It was so bad, Ledson and Kasumu together. But in a game like this, where it's all about legs, it's all about running, it's all about chasing, harrying, and closing down, it worked really well. And Liam Manning saw that. He brought Miller on initially on the right, which wasn't quite right, wasn't quite there, but he did all right. But the main thing was Sorensen bringing Sorensen on. He took Feeney off, moved Balker inside, and Sorensen to right back. And it was Sorensen really who added that thrust from the right hand side. And so what he's really good at this season, Sorensen, is inverting. He's coming inside, so he comes inside quite a lot onto his left foot, and he hits and he finds those flat passes through and behind. And he was excellent, was Sorensen, sort of inverting and coming inside, and he caused a lot of problems. And Town, the pressure's starting to build, and all of a sudden you can see the pressure's building, and Town are getting back into this game. And honestly, all the way through, I was saying to Tommy, who I sit next to, Town just need to score once and get back in this, and they'll get up and they'll get something from it. And it took till 74 minutes for Town to get something. But when they did, you thought, right, we're going to be back. We're back in the game now. We'll get something, and it's great to be able to think like that rather than we've got a consolation, which we may have done a couple of months ago. And it owes a lot to Sorensen for the ball, but Miller kind of wins the ball back, and I think I thought the Fletcher push on Wallace, because he kind of pushed him in the back of the head, I thought that was a foul. But if that's a foul, then Miller on Fletcher in the build-up to this is a foul. So I think that evens up in this occasion. Miller does kind of get Fletcher a little bit, not enough for him to go down like he did, but he does get him a little bit. The ball comes back to Sorensen, he pings it in, Marcus Harness on the end of it. And I thought Marcus Harness was brilliant in this game. I think at the start he was quite quiet, like you said, but he grew into this, and I think he was the one really pushing Town on throughout this game. He was the talisman. I thought he was our man of the match. He got the ball in those key areas in that sort of final third, and he knitted things together really well. He was the most foul player on the pitch. He won the most duels on the pitch. I thought it was excellent, particularly in the second half. Marcus Harness, not so much on the left, but when he made another change and put Miller to the left and Cameron Asher on the right and Harness as the 10, I thought that's really where Harness was outstanding. And I think this season what we've kind of said at times is that Town have lacked go-to people, go-to players, whereby you're losing a game, who can drag you back into this? And recently Marcus Harness has been doing that. His form has been really good, and I think now we're missing Bojan Radulovic, we're missing Alfie May, we're missing Ryan Hardy, who we've not seen yet. We don't know if he's going to be any good or not yet. But when you're missing these players, you need someone to step up, and Marcus Harness has done this really well lately, and he's really sort of put Pozza in his place as well, because Pozza was very anti he was very anti-Harness at the start of the season. I think a lot of that was down to how badly he played at Bradford. But for me, Harness has been brilliant since the turn of the year, and even when back in midfield, I really liked him in centre midfield. But he's moved back up to that attacking midfield position again now, and he's just the thing that everything evolves around. He's like the sun, isn't he? Everything just evolves around him, and that gravitational pull for the ball, and he's been fantastic. And I thought he was fantastic again on Saturday, and I'm turning into a massive Marcus Harness shill at the minute, I have to say.
Is he a player of the season so far, Matt?
I was thinking this earlier, and I was thinking you can't really pick one, and it's not necessarily a bad thing, but I think players have played well in patches, and I think if you ended it today, you would still have to have Castledine in with a shout of the player of the season as well. So I think Murray Wallace has had a really good couple of months. He would be in with a shout just on the basis of a few months. Gooch as well for the early on in the season. He was very good earlier on. Sorensen's been good lately, but not good enough to get player of the season. Ryan Ledson's been good lately, but not in the early. So I think whoever gets player of the season will be whoever finishes really strong, because I think a lot of the early part of the season will be forgotten. So if Bojan Radulovic gets a couple of goals towards the end of the season, or Alfie May, then it could switch it. But today, Harness, he'd probably be up there. Next week, it could be someone else.
Standard in it for us. I thought from the moment Blackpool went 2-0 up, we changed to the 4-2-3-1. And from that moment out, I don't really feel Blackpool pressured us at all. It balances up in midfield. We still had the personnel on that didn't have the right profiles, as he explained later on in after the game, Liam Manning, about winger profiles, getting them on the field, and that's kind of how we finished the game and why we suddenly looked a total different outfit compared to the first 40 minutes. But from that change, Harness then goes back to doing what he does best, Matt. But he, like you say, he needs to get the ball. You need to get him on the ball. And that's why Lee Grant had to play him in that deeper central midfield role, because we just couldn't get it to him at any point. And then once we did that, he looked much better. We looked much better. Marcus Harness is the best footballer we have, bar Marcus McGuane, I reckon. They're quite different in what they can do. But again, both of them look a class above anybody else when it comes to what they can do on the ball and how clean they are when they're playing, and the vision. Again, quite different, but you see what I mean. It was surprising we didn't make any substitutions at half time. Liam Manning, he stormed down that tunnel, didn't he, though? And if you noticed, I don't know if everyone else picked up on it, half time I like to look to see who's warming up and who's not warming up, to work out who's going to be coming on or whatnot. And for the first few minutes, basically all the subs were still outside. Then for the next 10 minutes, they all got brought back in. So normally you've got a few of them knocking the ball around on the pitch, haven't you? But they all went back in. So I'm thinking, hey, he's going to make some real changes. However, about 30 seconds before we restarted the second half, the subs have come back out again to have a little quick warm-up, thinking that they might be on in a few minutes if it hasn't gone too well. And you can tell that's what went on. Liam Manning's given them absolute bollocking, saying, if you don't do it now, we'll be making changes. You have to do that. You have to give them the opportunity to adjust to a new system and see how resilient they are. And to be fair, Matt, like you say, we didn't look perfect straight after halftime. We didn't. And when we made the first round of subs, which was Kasumu and Wales on, it didn't change everything then either, because again, it hasn't brought in the pace of Sorensen. It hasn't brought in the pace of Mikael Miller either. When you made those subs 10 minutes later, that's when the game changed. I think it was 72 minutes. No, it took another couple of minutes then to get the goal. It was at that moment where we've got the pace in the right places. We can run the ball at Blackpool, and you could see they didn't want any of it. We were having 2-on-1s on both sides of the field. A little bit more, like you say, when Ashia comes on and Miller swaps to the left-hand side. But instantly we look different. And Matt, I love it. This is what I need to see in a manager, right? In the managers make mistakes, they get the wrong setups. He's only been here a few weeks. He doesn't understand the squad as well as we do, I don't think, as Town fans, in that we've seen it game in, game out for 3 years. I'm not saying he's not going to get there in an extra 2 or 3 games, but right now, he's not seen the adversity we've had to see certain players go through and know what they can and can't do. He'll get there. I think when you make a mistake or you get the setup wrong initially, to then adjust 40 minutes in is bravery. That's bravery for me when it comes from to a manager and what I expect from them. And like you say, Matt, then he didn't make the subs at half time, but he's given them a bit of a warning. And then they've made the changes 10 minutes in. You don't want to make 4 changes at once. That's a bit much to change, 40% of your outfield team. They're not up to pace. And you can't do that. You have to give it a few minutes. He's given it, to me, the littlest you can before you make another couple of changes. And then we've totally gone at Blackpool. And whilst, like you say, I don't think we created extreme amount of chances that were absolute gobbers because of the way Blackpool were defending, but the entire flow of the game changed instantly. And there was only ever going to be one team that was going to score from there on out. It was a great bit of work from Mikael Miller on Fletcher. And to be fair, Matt, I understand what you're saying about it's similar to the Wallace challenge. It is, and that's why for me, both of them aren't free kicks at all. Fletcher's going down. He's looking for that. He's already thrown his hands up before Mikael Miller's touched him. But what a great cross by Sorensen. What's even better is how quick thinking Marcus Harness is. All the Blackpool lads are complaining about the free kick. They're all stood there, arms up, not following the men, not picking anyone up. Sorensen, one touch, puts it straight in, and Harness has found the back of the goal, and we're back in the game. And at that moment, I know we were still a goal behind at that point, but everyone in the stadium knew something else was coming. Everyone on the field knew something else was coming, and we weren't going to lose that game from that moment out. It was quick bit of thinking, because I think that's something else we missed in the first half, Matt. It wasn't just that we went back to that 5-2-3 formation or 5-3-2 when Humphreys sat deeper. It was just the tempo was really slow as well. Everything was off. We were getting throw-ins and they were taking 25 minutes again. We were getting free kicks and taking forever to play them out. Everything just looked a little bit slow, whereas 72 minutes comes, up everything tempo-wise, and we look like world beaters once more. But again, this is on the back of Liam Manning changing it, and that's the biggest positive for me. Isn't the resilience the team showed, but the willingness to change system and change tactics and personnel entirely within a game to force a result, because we've gone through so many managers that haven't been willing to do it. They may have changed system after a few games where it's not worked, but in game, very little changed, even under Duff, to be fair, Matt. But under Lee Grant especially, that was something that really I struggled to see and adjust to, kind of that being the Town way. Liam Manning is not that, as we've seen on Saturday. He changed it, and it worked for the best for certain.
This is something I wanted to chat about later on, because basically in the second half, Liam Manning, I can't even say his name, Liam Manning outcoached Ian Evatt in that second half. And I think that is a really positive sign. Ian Everett's someone who's coached a playoff team last couple of years, not last season, but a few years before that in Bolton. Liam Manning is someone who has been outcoached himself, I guess, for MK Dons in the playoffs, Bristol City. But he's never had the strong squad, I don't think, or a team with the strongest squad. So we'll give him that. What I thought was really positive from this game is, and we're on about last week about slaying dragons, about we never win with 10 men, tick. We never hold on. We never play well with or against 10 men, tick. We never score last minute winners, tick. Came back from 2-0 down at home. Blackpool are so good. I don't know why, but Blackpool seem to reserve their best games every year for us. Chatting to Tom from the Up the Mighty Pool podcast, I think their best performance this season was against us at home back in August. Blackpool were great, weren't they? For a good 45 minutes, I think from the 20th minute to about the hour mark, Blackpool were excellent. They were really, really good. There's absolutely no way they look like a team that had won once in 7 games and had the second worst away form. And he did say, did Tom, he said, I wouldn't really look at our away form like that. I think we've just been poor as a whole. And I got it. Do you know, when I saw it, I was like, oh, yeah, I see what he means now. They were organised. They played well out from the back. They mixed it when they needed to. And Blackpool were excellent. And they got everything right from the start. But as the game went on, Liam Manning tried things. He like I say, he moved Balker into that midfield, pushing into midfield. Didn't work. He moved to 4-2-3-1, I think just before half-time, didn't he? He went to a back four. Went to that 4-2-3-1 quite early. These are in-game changes. We don't necessarily mean substitutes. Then in the second half, there was he moved Kasumu back into midfield because he understood we needed more legs in there, more chasing, win the ball back, ball recoveries, second balls. Fantastic. He brings Miller on because he knows that we need to go wide and we need pace to get at them because they're playing 3-5-2. So, Miller comes on, ideally not great on the right, but him coming in, inverting, does leave Sorensen's pace on the outside to go on the outside, which he did a couple of times. So that worked. I'd like to think that he knows that Mikael Miller and Barley Mumba linked up really well at Plymouth during that 100-point season. So he's moved Mikael Miller to the left-hand side and Barley Mumba overlaps him. And this is where the second goal comes from, where Miller's got the ball and he holds it. And this is why I was always bigger on Miller than Ruskin as a winger, because Miller's got the ball and he's held up. But Miller's got the patience and the knowledge and the game intelligence to hold the ball because he knows someone's coming on the outside. So he holds the ball and then plays it to Barley Mumba. It's a perfectly timed ball. Barley Mumba puts it to the far post. Bobby Wales, we'll talk about after, he runs into the middle. And because he's quite awkward, he's quite big and awkward, their defenders get drawn to him in the box. And that just leaves Cam Asher at the far post with his shorts around his ankles to head the ball in the net. And watch the video back. He celebrates by running to the touchline and pulling his shorts down. He came on looking like he put Murray Wallace's shorts on, didn't he? His shorts were so far down. It's like, come on, Cam, what's going on here? It's almost like he's the shorts version of what everybody does with the socks these days, where you cut the socks and you have the grip socks on. It's like he's got grip undies and he pulls his shorts down. It's bizarre what he does. But he comes in, and I'm delighted for Cameron Ashley because when they interview him, he's just got so much enthusiasm about him. And when he got subbed on, he does his little thing. He crosses his heart and then points to the skies. He's so enthusiastic when he comes on. It's like he scored when he comes on. It's like he's celebrating almost when he's coming on. And that enthusiasm and that infectiousness sort of rubs off, doesn't it, on people around him quite a lot. And what he tried to do didn't really work until he scored. And that's Cameron Asher, isn't it? I think we said on the Discord, it's like chaos unwrapped, isn't he? You kind of just unwrap layer by layer and he just sort of like fizzes around, doesn't it? It's like a Barocca is Cameron Asher. You throw a Barocca in water and it's there's all sorts going on there. And he's just like, he's all over the place, like ting, 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 ting. And you can't contain him and he'll either score or he'll be absolutely gash. And he scored. And Town got what they deserved, and after we scored, we didn't really look like winning it. But I think having been 2-0 down at halftime, a point is a great result in context of that. I think in the context of them being the second worst away team in the league before the game, you'd want to win. But yeah, I think it's another tick in the Liam Manning box in that he's gone 2-0 down and he's out-coached the opposition manager to get us back in the game, and I love that. And I know we're all very high on Liam Manning at the minute, and I think if results turn, I think some people, like similar to Lee Grant, might turn on him a little bit because he's very Lee Grant-like, isn't he? In some of the things in phrases he uses, he's just a bit more forthright with it, I think, rather than a little bit wishy-washy like Lee Grant. But I think this is another tick in the Liam Manning box in that column. I think he's done well to get Town back in the game. I know he's kind of tried a lot of things to get there, but we've got to bear in mind this is a person that's new to this squad. Yes, he's going to know people. Yes, he knows Max. We're going quite well. He'll know several players from there. He's not. It's not like you going to getting the job at Golker and going, right, who've we got? What's this guy about? And having to work out what everyone's about. Everyone knows what players are about, don't they? But I think it's almost like buying a car. Once you see them under the hood, so to speak, you understand a little bit more. And he's at that stage at the minute. And for me, he got things wrong at the start. That's fine. I think that's in hindsight as well. I think when we arrived, I think the Gooch and Sorensen thing, I think we were a little before the game, but the Humphreys thing we kind of got. So I think apart from one for one, like for like, I think he's pretty much done what we thought we would do as well. So we can't pretend to be. I don't think me and you can pretend to be wise after the event either, because I think when we saw it, we're like, all right, fair enough. But I think what I love is that he has out-managed Ian Evatt, who is a fairly successful League One manager. I know he's not got anybody promoted from League One, but I think when you look at League One managers, he would probably be regarded as one of the better ones in this league, having won the Vertu Trophy and have a couple of playoff campaigns and delivered, like I say, year-on-year success up until the last year where it all kind of went a bit wrong. So I think we should be very happy with a lot of aspects of this game. I'm not entirely happy because we've not won the game, but I'm very happy contextualizing that and putting that into a box whereby you have to understand we were 2-0 down. This is a new manager learning about this team, and he's learning very quickly. And I just thought there's a lot more upside to this draw than there is downside. It's a better draw than what it was when we last drew 2-2 at home against Exeter, for example.
Absolutely. And you could see him learning throughout the game. Again, that's the part that I find most exciting, in that you could see him growing as the game went on. I loved that he absolutely whooped Ian Evatt by the end. Evatt lost his head. He was lucky to still be in the dugout. He absolutely lost himself.
He's a prick, isn't he?
Complaining, we're running down the touchline. He's an absolute dickhead. Yeah, I'll go all the way there with it. However, Matt, I have to offer an apology to Tom from Blackpool. In the drive-in, he was talking about maybe they could go.
You scoffed. You did scoff.
I did scoff, but I tell you what, watching them, they were fans. They must be awful against everybody else, like you say, Matt, apart from us, because I thought they were just really good. It wasn't just that Town had a bad day. Blackpool were organised. They were drilled. They did have 3 new debutants, right, and they only joined them a few days before. So that's a third of the team, right? And when defensively they're all right because they've got all the massive units there, and it's half of their attacking 6 effectively there, then it makes a big difference to the quality of their squad, because if they have that first 11 fit from now until the end of the season, they'll do okay. I don't think they'll make the playoffs. I'm not saying that, but they look solid and they look tough to beat.
They're well set for next year.
Yeah, they are. They'll do well next year as long as they don't lose too many. But they've spent quite a bit of money in the summer. They spent quite a bit of money in January. And to be fair, Matt, one thing we look past, I think, a lot of Town fans, is that in games, you look at the substitutions you make and you don't look at the substitutions the other team have made and the adjustments they've made, in that they took off Clarkson, they took off Fletcher, and they took off Obafemi, who I thought causes quite a lot of problems early on in the game. Ennis came on, he hadn't played for quite a while, and they changed formation a little bit more defensive. To me, Evatt was panicking because he couldn't handle the changes Town were making and he didn't know what to do. Mikel Miller, and like I say, when Ashia came on and went on the left-hand side with Barley Mumba, there was 2-on-1s on both sides all the time. They were fantastic. Cameron Ashia, however, I must just say, it triggers me more than anything else in football that we've got certain managers that don't pick him, and he's not a part of the squad. Never mind the first 11, right? Not a part of the squad. Matt, league games this year, 372 minutes, 376 minutes Cameron Ashia has played. He's got 3 goals and 2 assists. Now, I'm pretty sure there's nobody else in the squad, if you average it out, would have got that. That's a phenomenal return for a guy that's only played bit parts. Cameron Ashia, for whatever reason, whatever his abilities, scores and creates goals when it matters. He does every time. He's only started 2 games this year. AFC Wimbledon, where we drew 3-3, but realistically, we battered him all game and just conceded 3 goals. He played at wing back, so you can say he's at fault, got an assist in that. And then the Exeter City 2-2 draw, where again, we were all right and then weren't all right. But he's just a guy that he gets. I love watching him play. I love the tenacity of him. I love the direct running that he brings into the game. And like you say, Matt, he lifts the team. He lifts the fans. Things change when he comes on. He's an unbelievable player. And I think any other team in this division, in Cardiff, Luton, would have him on the bench no matter what, at the very worst, because he is a guy.
Chaos and rats.
It's just chaos, but chaos with product as well, Matt. He's not just somebody who runs a lot and not much happens. The proof is in the goals that he scores in the few minutes he plays and the assists that he gets. He's going to have a really good career. I'm convinced by it. And I'm just hoping now Manning sees this and gives him more opportunities, because we, again, 4 games in, we've not seen Will Alves at all. And up until now, we've not really seen Ashia. So I did think he wasn't his kind of player, but for whatever reason, injuries might have forced his hand a bit, give Ashia the chance. And he was the right man at the right time on Saturday, because his header was fantastic, Matt. I don't think Hamilton saw him there I don't actually think he was aware that Cameron Ashier was running into to nut it in at the back, but what a finish it was. And I just like the play before it though, Matt, in that Barley Mumba, Town fans are not fully sold on him, right? But defensively, I think he's solid enough unless he tires. But he's getting better now. We didn't have that drop off this week, Matt, did we? He's getting a lot more. Not just
I thought he played well. I thought he played really well.
Yeah, but getting system fit as well. He blocks quite a lot of chances. Like the McGuane one where he's let Fletcher go. Mumba actually got the blocking initially for the ball to balloon up. He's quite good at that. On the alternative side, Gucci's not necessarily the greatest at that on the other wing. But that aside, Mumba plays it into Miller. Like I say, Miller's got the intelligence Ruskin didn't have because, again, Ruskin was never a winger. We'd gone narrow at this point, and now, again, first half, I thought we were very expressive. And when you're expressive, you can't have underlappers or overlappers. You've only got to go under. When you play like this, where you are 4-2-3-1, and you've got somebody a little bit wider but steps inside, Barley Mumba makes a run. He plays the ball into Mikel Miller initially, Matt. Mikel Miller stands up and waits for Mumba to go. Mumba's played 90 minutes nearly at this point, and he's still doing more running than everybody else. His cross is pinpoint perfect as well. And that's not even his strongest foot. Obviously, he is right-footed, Barley Mumba, but he's put it on his left-hand side, and it's an amazing ball that was only ever going to end up in the back of the net. I actually thought Wales was going to get there first, like you say, Matt. But even with the Blackpool lads running backwards towards it, it's hard for them to head it out and clear it as well from that angle. And luckily for us, Cameron Ashier, and like you say, from there on out, the game kind of just fizzled out, really. We didn't really have too much else after that. Blackpool definitely kind of just closed it down and saw it out and saw it through. But I'm with you, Matt. I can't say it's the best result of Liam Manning's tenure because, to be fair, the three before this are phenomenal when you consider what's happened. But it will do us the world of good, like as you've mentioned there, to come back from 2-0 down, to make tactical adjustments, again, to a system that they've not played before for Manning, and it to work as well as it has done at home. And the atmosphere at the end of the game was fantastic again. Cowshed were up at it. Everybody was feeling it. No one left early, particularly, that we're aware of, maybe. But everyone was still at it and ready to go. And this is very different. There was a few boos at half-time, which I think is an absolute joke. But I do feel that was for the referee, Matt, more than...
Yeah, I didn't hear it, to be fair. But
was the harness scrape before half-time when he's been slashed down his leg? I think it may have been.
I think that's what made me froth, because I thought that was a yellow, if anything. I don't think that was a bucket. I don't think he gave a booking, did he? Played on.
But I think that got the booing going, didn't it, at half-time? But apart from that, everyone stayed with the team. It just shows you how quickly football can change. It's taken 4 games, and the fans are totally different to where we were just a few weeks ago, based on just what we've seen on the field, because the players did go at it for 90 minutes. And even when it wasn't working, it wasn't through a lack of effort. They were all at it all the way through. And Liam Manning and the lads found a way to get something positive out of something only a few weeks ago would have ended very, very differently.
I think so. So enough of me and the Silkman bleating on. Let's go to the Andy Takes That Chance squad and see what you guys have left us on our answering machine service this week.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Bouvet.
Hello, there is no one here to take your call, so for your convenience we have answered it automatically. Now don't hang up. When you hear the tone, leave your name and a brief message, and we will contact you upon our return.
Welcome, Megatide in Marvin Road here. Hey, bloody hell, lads, I'm sorry to tell you I've had a right terrible week, me. I enjoyed the football last Saturday, so I did, and then I bloody sat down to watch the podcast on Monday night with Maureen and Hot Kids, and they had their kids down, and there were a couple of great grandkids down. I said, hey, I do a little bit for this podcast every week, so I do, and they're all dead excited. They said, oh, you've been doing a thing on Twitter and all that sort of carry on. And we watched really in about an hour and 15 minutes or so, and then it came up and they're all bloody laughing and joking, listening to, great-granddad Malcolm up podcast. And then Matthew came up and he said, I've been a right weirdo, and he called me Malcolm Marmite. I could try to tell you what, it's put me in a terrible funk for the rest of the week. I didn't even think I was going to go today, and I tell you what, when I got there and I watched that first half, I thought, bloody hell, I wish I'd have bothered. I've never seen the likes of goal that Blackpool scored at first. This is one of the reasons I want out of this league, is because I'm sick and tired of watching shit little teams come and play rugby against us. And worst of all, it's Blackpool. I hate Blackpool. I tell you what, someone told me a joke the other day. They said, "What's the difference between an apple and an orange?" I said, "I don't know." He said, "There's no such thing as an apple bastard." And that just about sums up Blackpool for me. So I was dead chuffed in second half when we got us goals. But I tell you what, lads, I don't know. I've just got that sinking feeling in my stomach again that there's something not right with Huddersfield Town in League One. And I can't put my finger on it, but yeah, it just feels like it's not going to be our year again, lads. And I hope I'm not being too dramatic, and hope we wallop Donny and then, we get back on track. But anyway, up the Town, and please don't call me weird again this week, because it knocked to my confidence. All right, all the hairy chest.
Hi, Billy Town here after the Blackpool game. I thought after a bright opening 10-15 minutes, we just kind of froze. The attacking players got stuck a little bit too far upfield, including Ledson, and the defenders at set pieces just got a little bit confused between man marking and zonal marking, and were almost too strongly man marking, so gaps just appeared. I certainly didn't think Bolker was a prime issue for either of the goals. I thought it was Blackpool moving us around and creating the space, and us letting them do that, which was a bit of a problem. Really good attacking substitutions. Miller, I thought, was excellent, and Sorensen also. Really good game from Mumba, and lovely to see Asher score a goal as well. Yeah, I'm not sure what lessons we can take from that, other than I quite liked the back four that we ended up with Bolker and Wallace in the middle. But it was against a fairly crap Blackpool team, although with some pretty handy attacking players. So yeah, we'll see how that goes for the rest of the season. Cheers.
Hi, Johnny Goggs here after that 2-2 draw against Blackpool. Satisfied rather than pleased with that at the end of the day. First half, shocker. Bolker particularly just doesn't do remotely enough for either one of the two goals. He's been good recently, good enough to warrant a techno anthem, but he just wasn't on it today. Obviously, better second half. I think the changes from Manning, while I wasn't necessarily convinced with all of them as they went through, actually shifted the dynamic. I thought Wales made himself a nuisance as well, the new signing. And overall, just showing a lot more character and tactical finesse than we had previously. And meant we would have lost that game a few weeks ago. Onward and upward, we'll take the point, up to 5th, up the Town.
Supporting this football club is just really not easy, is it? Look, 2-2 against Blackpool. Ultimately, I think it's a point gained. When you're 2-0 down in a game, I think it is a point gained. I know that people will be disappointed because they'll be looking at the league table position and stuff. And I don't disagree. Look, we should be looking to win these games, especially at home. But when you are 2-0 down, like I said, I think you've just got to accept that, a point from that is good. And look, they scored 2 really poor goals for me from Town's perspective. They all switch off on that first. I think Lee Nichols should save it. And then the second is just, again, switching off. I think there's a foul on Murray Wallace, but you've got to defend the second phase of it all. And they didn't. Look, they fought back from 2-0 down. I thought after we'd scored and kind of finally got that after the changes and whatnot, thought Miller changed the game for the better. We looked a lot better. I even thought Bobby Wales came to life after we scored that first. I think he was struggling a little bit, kind of going up against 2 burly centre-backs, but then after that I thought he looked really good, some really nice touches, and there's never a free kick on him where he goes shoulder to shoulder with that guy. It's never a free kick. But, refereeing standard in this country is a bit of a joke, to be honest with you, Look, yeah, again, we've had an absolutely awful referee. Has he cost us the game? No, but he just doesn't help things, does it? But look, anyway, on to the next game, up the Town.
The mailbox is full and cannot accept any messages at this time. Goodbye.
Okay, so there we go. So thanks to everybody for leaving their voicemails. Apologies for Malcolm's language. He's obviously a little bit upset. So, Killer Bobby Wales, he's the newest guy. So we'll talk about the window as well. It slams shut. Are we happy? I think everybody's seems quite happy. For me personally, I've learnt now that you can never really judge the transfer window until the next transfer window. So I don't think we'll know if this is a good window until June, but which is a complete cop-out, isn't it, for me? But one of them made their debut on Saturday, Bobby Wales. I think initially I was maybe a little harsh on him because he came on and I was like, I don't think he knows where to stand, this guy. But he's 20 years old. I think he's been brought in as a backup, hasn't he? An understudy, if you like, to Bojan Radulovic, to not just Bojan Radulovic, but Bojan and Alfie May. Watching him, he doesn't really feel like a natural line leader to me. He feels like the one that kind of likes to drop off a little bit more and link things in there rather than be the one who's battling with centre-backs. There was a lot of balls that went forward where he came too short and he got caught underneath the ball quite a lot. I'm completely perplexed at that one where Miller zapped it across goal and he kind of stood there and watched it float around on the touchline. He could have walked over and got the ball and returned it in. I was a little bit perplexed by that. But once we got back to 2-2, he made a couple of really nice contributions and touches. So there's a confidence thing there. His confidence is lifted by how Town have done. And like we said on the goal, he's a unit, a bit of a unit. So when the ball came in, Blackpool are very attracted to him, and that opens doors for other people. I think one thing to be aware of with Bobby Wales is like I say, he's 20 and he's played 90 minutes about 20 times in his career. And the majority of that is in Scottish League One for Alloa Athletic. So I think it's probably quite a lot to expect him to come in and light up the Acu Stadium and win his games on his own. I don't think that's going to happen. But I think what we might see is a player that develops and gets better as the more minutes he gets on the field, the more time he spends with the squad or the group. It still seems to be the group, doesn't it, even under Liam Manning? So the more time he spends with us, the better he'll get. But I think we've also brought in Ryan Hardy, who we're not expecting to see for another 2 or 3 weeks. The irony is Alfie May is probably back by the time Ryan Hardy is as well. So he's then going to have a period of getting match fit. So the Ryan Hardy one, I think initially I was quite pleased with that. And then you think, oh, right, he's not actually played for a couple of months, so he's going to need a little period to get back up to speed. If he's not ready until 3 weeks, end of Feb, he's probably not going to be match fit until April. Again, that could go either way. But I think when you look at what was available in the window, I think Ryan Hardy's as good as what Huddersfield Town could possibly have dreamt in terms of who was available and what they could have gone out and done. So I think the club have done really well to get Ryan Hardy. It's about how much value we get out of him from now to the end of the season, which will determine whether that's a really good signing or not. Bobby Wales, though, for me, I think as a backup, I think, again, that's probably as good as you can expect. Someone who can't quite force his way into a half-decent Swansea team in the Championship, but there's something about him, isn't there? When you watch it, there's like a raw quality to him where you think, oh, that actually worked quite well. And then other times it's like, what is he doing? And then it's like, oh, that's quite good. Oh, what is he doing? You get that kind of almost pantomime feeling with Bobby Wales. And that's just in 35 minutes or something. So I think there's going to be a lot of entertainment to come from him, I would imagine. And we do have one particular American viewer. We're very virtually invested in how he does as well.
To be fair, he came on at 2-0 down and we've drawn 2-2. So, and effectively he's had a goal disallowed as well, kind of. If you're looking at it from that angle, you've got to say it's been a success on his debut, really. I'm with you, Matt, and I'm going to throw you under the bus here because I think you mentioned he looked like a competition winner for the first 10 minutes. I think that's what your actual words were. I think they were your actual words. However, I totally agree.
First 5 minutes,
it looked like he was running with like those like clown boots on for the first 10 minutes. And he's a strange. It's a strange one because, like, when he first came in, obviously you look at his highlights, you go onto Wikipedia or Transfermarkt or whatever, and he's 5'8", and then next minute he's 5'10", and then he's 6'2", and he comes on. He looks massive, and I don't just mean just height. He just looks like a big burly bloke, doesn't he? And he looks like a big burly bloke that's really old but with a young face. He's confusing.
Looks like Lee Nichols' older and younger brother at the same time.
He does. He looks so strange in that regard. However, there were some touches eventually in the game where some nice deft touch. I think Kasuma played it into his feet and he just laid it back off to him. You can tell he's played decent football, right? And he can play proper technical football. But when I look at his gameplay, Matt, even in that last 15, 20 minutes, I feel he's got a bit of the Joe Taylor's in lack of effort in the press. That's what I looked at. Now he's early. He's only just come in. He's not played properly for a while, but he looks a bit of a 9 on his own for me, Matt. One of those kind of, they just walk around a little bit and they have to wait for chances to come to them instead of them going out to work for it. That's fine. That works. I mean, Haaland's the ultimate of that, and Harry Kane does it at time. I understand goal scorers can be like that. That's absolutely fine. It's just in the 25, 30 minutes we had of him, if you compare him to how Radulovic fights for everything, he doesn't look like that kind of player. He's no one else is alpha male in this division for starters, right, at all. And that's fine. I think that's absolutely fine. On Ryan Hardy quickly, I don't think he comes in if Bojan Radulovic's fit. I feel like that was pretty much right. We need to get somebody now just in case Bojan's out for the playoffs even. And if Hardy can come in and fill that gap, even though he's unfit now, maybe he can get there. He's a bit of a contingency plan. I feel like Wales were always going to come in to be the Charles relief. I think Charles offers us even less than what Wales does generally in the 25, 30 minutes we've seen of him. But it's a very strange one because having seen him, I'm not entirely sure still what kind of striker he is, Matt, because it doesn't really fit. The way he played to his size doesn't kind of make sense to me as a football purist, I guess, which I know is strange. And again, in the next few games, I'm sure we'll see what he's like because he's going to get the opportunity. I'd probably start him over Charles next weekend. Obviously, we've got Tuesday night against Doncaster in the Vertu first, but Stevenage at 12:30 on Sky next Saturday. Would you go with Charles or would you go with Wales? We'll talk about it on the driving this week, but I'd kind of get it because I do think it gives us a different kind of angle. But as a debut goes, you look at the goals 2-2 from a 2-0 deficit. It's worked. It's absolutely worked. I'm just a bit lost in knowing what he is still, which I can't remember feeling like this before of a striker. Generally, I think you can kind of tell straight away.
It doesn't really make any runs either. Do you know what I mean? He doesn't like when we've got the ball. He kind of just stands there, but he's not a back to goal, or he didn't seem to be a back to goal player either. So it's like, we'll make a run, and then he didn't make a run. It's like, and that's why I was getting a bit. I was like scratching my head a bit with it.
It looks to me like a player that's gone through an entire academy playing one position and then swapped late on, or he was quite short compared to everybody else, or quite thin compared to everybody else. Got to 18, 19, 20, got bigger, and then he's had to change his game. That's how it kind of just looks to me.
This is a real stretch, but do you know who he kind of reminded me of on his debut? And this is going back quite a while, but when we brought in Akpo Soji from Erith and Belvedere, he came in and it was like not competition winner's probably a bit unkind, but it just looked like he'd never played at that level before, and he was like, where am I supposed to go? What am I supposed to do? And he ended up being really good. There were a couple of flashes where you think, oh yeah, he's all right, and then he ended up, when he was fit, he went and had a good career, didn't he? And I'm sure Bobby Wells will do the same. And again, we have to say, we've only seen him for 30 minutes and we're not hammering him. It's just, we're a little bit like, what is he? You know, we're just a little bit.
Like you say, that first 10 minutes when the ball zipped across the ball.
We're not sure what we're seeing, have we?
When the ball zips across the face of the goal like that, you've got
he didn't make the run, did he?
In the back post. He was not even anywhere near it. But at that point, you've got Mumba and, like you say, Mikel Miller and eventually Kamasha. You've got so much pace out wide. And it was so frantic, Town going forward at that point, because Blackpool went so deep. You've got 10 men defending, 11 if you're including the keeper. There's so many bodies in there and so much going on. He's not played at this level for a team like us before in that situation. He hasn't, and it did look like that initially. But then when he did settle down, when he got into the tempo of the game, you could see that he's got something to offer.
Something to work. Yeah, he does. Yeah.
I still not entirely sure what it is just yet. No, which is strange, Matt, because I don't think, like you say, Akpo Soji is probably a very good example of that. But I just still don't know what he's about just yet, even though we've seen him for half an hour. So I'm sure that'll change soon. We'll see a lot of him Tuesday.
Are you kind of like low-key quite excited by it at the same time as well?
Because for the goal, with Kamasha, he scores because 3 men of Blackpool follow Wales because of the size of him, and Ashley gets there at the back post. That's what will happen. And again, in football, this is how it can work, in that you have a guy like Barley Mumba, when he plays, we win. Or we don't lose. Things. Herbie Kane, to be fair to him, when he played for Town, the results were always much better, even though you couldn't particularly see what he was doing. Wales has come on, and we look like a total different team. And he must have been a big part of it, even if amateurs like us can't necessarily see it initially. But the result, the proof's in the pudding there. I am excited to see him because he's very strange, and anything unorthodox can work unless it's Kyle Hudlin, and then that did not work. I think that one was definitely one that didn't work.
Oh, really? No. I'm quite interested to see him again. Like I say, we're not hammering him. We're just didn't quite understand what we saw. I think and to be honest, it's half an hour, so we want to see more, don't we, before we can kind of fully... We're not saying he's good or he's bad. We're just not quite sure what we've seen. But we want to see more of it because I think the mystery of Bobby Wales is quite an interesting one. And I think the upside with a player like that and with a touch like he has, the upside is pretty big. You know what I mean? It could be really good. The downside is you've got to let him find his feet. And that's all it is. He's a young kid trying to find his feet. So I hope he does it. I think there's quite an exciting one. I liked his interview as well. He seems a good character as well. So I'm quite interested by this one. And Aidan over in Washington DC, I'll be crossing his fingers because he's been a big Bobby Wales fan for quite a while, wanting us to sign it. So yeah, let's hope it works out for you and us, Aidan, because it's certainly an interesting one. But other than that, window wise, I think it's been good. You know, January, someone mentioned he thought it was a bit of a meh window, and I was like, oh, come on. To be fair, he is a big Ruben Ruskin fan, probably the only one. But, you know, we've brought in Barley Mumba, who strengthened that left wing back position. I think now Joe Lowe's injured, you're kind of looking at defence going, oh, could we have maybe done with one more? But the flip side to that is if all of a sudden Joe Lowe, Watmore and Sean Rowan come back, you've got like 7 or 8 centre-backs then. And it's like, well, you can't fit them all in the squad and pay for them all. There's a big wage bill going on there. Striker-wise, we needed strikers. We went out and got them. I think you've got to give the club a lot of credit. You've got to give the owner credit for bankrolling us. You've got to give Chris Markham, Lee Maybury and Liam Manning credit for getting the players through the door. It's a team effort. Like I said earlier, it's not just the sporting director that does it. It is a team effort. And also the analysts as well. They've brought in Tom Payne, who's come across from Bolton as well. So, it's a big effort from everyone, and I think they've done really well. And I mentioned on the last podcast that we did before the transfer window that to lose a player at the end of the window and then replace him is so difficult. So for the club to have done that, I think you have to give them a lot of credit, Killer. And I think even if the transfer doesn't work out, because it can happen, I think what they've done has been really good. We just now have to cross our fingers, toes, and everything that Ryan Hardy gets fit and gets back to something like he was at Plymouth, where he was a very, very effective goal scorer. Very different. And Liam Manning goes on about profiles, doesn't he, all the time? Town have got different profiles. Bojan has all of a sudden turned into this target man League One striker that we never saw coming, did we? He's very much of that mould. Bobby Wales is your enigma so far, which we're looking forward to seeing. Alfie May drops deep. He's very different now, Alfie May. He drops deep and he links and he rats around and presses. Ryan Hardy is your channel runner. I suppose he's quite similar to Dion Charles in a lot of ways in that he will run the channels. I think he's left-footed, Hardy, from memory. He does score goals, but Dion Charles scored goals before he came to us. Ryan Hardy is a direct runner. He will run in behind and he sniffs out chances. He's a good footballer. So we're quite well stocked up there. Dion isn't really things aren't really clicking for Dion Charles at Huddersfield, so he might end up being 5th choice at this rate unless he goes to Stevenage next week and scores a couple of goals. I think he's, without being dramatic, I think his Huddersfield Town minutes are going forward are kind of at risk by how he does over the next couple of weeks. And I don't want that to sound dramatic or like I'm picking on Dion Charles because he works hard. It's just things just aren't quite working out in terms of getting in the right areas and scoring goals and doing what we paid 750 grand for. So everything looks good for me. Town, but Jen, when we did this podcast last year and we'd signed Joe Taylor and Dion Charles and we all went, we can push on for 2nd place now, and we dropped out of everything completely. So just holding back a little bit this year, Killer, because after what happened last year. So injuries are Town's Achilles heel, and that it's how fit we can get Ryan Hardy, Bojan Radulovic, Joe Lowe, and Alfie May, I guess. How fit we can get those guys going into the running in the season, which will determine how well we do. Because if Bojan Radulovic is back to pre-August levels for for any potential playoff match, Ryan Hardy's not fully fit, and you've got Dion Charles leading the line. That's not really what you want to see, is it, at the end of the season? So there's a lot can happen between now and then. But for now, we're keeping a lid on it, but quietly happy, I think.
I am. I'm very happy with it, to be totally honest, Matt. Like you say, injuries are always important if it happens or not. Normally it does to Town, as we found out with our centre-back situation at the moment. I think at the closing of the window, I did think we were one centre-back shy, to be totally honest, Matt. But that's if we're playing a back three. If we're going to go to a 4-2-3-1 now, which is a possibility under Liam Manning, looking at what he's played previously. Or
wingers shy.
Yeah, we're wingers shy. Although, to be fair, we made a decent change to get wingers on the field on Saturday, and that kind of worked. But for the centre-backs, we look a little bit shy there, because obviously Bolker's up until now been made of paper mache. Wallace is 94-year-old. I know he's not, you know what I mean. And there's always a risk of an injury when the older you get. So, and Fine is quite clearly quite a drop-off under this new system when it comes to him playing at centre-back, in that I think he was quite
maybe
poor.
maybe that's match fitness, because going back to before Balker came in, Feeney was one of the better players, wasn't he? I guess.
Yeah, he was. He was. He actually, I thought, the better centre back of everyone bar Watmore. But then again, players are made by the systems that they're in quite a lot, and it just doesn't look like it could be match fitness, like you say, Matt. And hopefully it is, and he gets back to sharpness, because we still need him at the moment. It's a while till I think everyone else will be back and back fit enough to start anyway. And we've basically swapped. Ruben Roostin's gone out for Bali Mumba, which I think all of us already would take that every day of the week as an improvement, not just player over player, but for the squad and what the squad needed.
Apart from that one mate,
apart from that one mate that you have, yeah. The other one that I suppose has gone is Herbie Kane's gone for me to bring in Ryan Hardy. I think I know it doesn't work directly like that, but again, Kane went out.
Wages. You've got
wages has been offset on Ryan Hardy, and I think again that's something we all accept. I think one thing we all overlooked, you see, when it comes to what we needed in January, a few of us were talking about if McGuane goes down, you need another central midfielder. Forgetting that David Kasumu's played under Liam Manning before, and that Liam Manning knows how to get David Kasumu playing a little bit better than what we've seen him play recently, because he's been all right so far. So he's come back into the foray, really, of being available and being an actual option to play in the midfield, where I'd kind of thought he was on his way. To be fair, I've thought Kasumu's been on his way every transfer window for the last three. Because there's always these mumbling saying, he's not in the plans, and then eventually finds his way back in, and then he's starting again. But no, Matt, I think you look at January, and last year we did say we didn't realise we needed Dion Charles, and the fact that Bolton thought he was done, why do we think we could get him going again? That is something we picked on at that time. However, we were very high on Joe Taylor. But he did score at the weekend, Matt, and as strikers, they love it if they score. If you lose by 6, but you've scored 1. Being a striker myself for quite a while in my career, I was not happy with loss, but you still think to yourself, well, I've done my job. So he's got 2 goals now for Wigan. Maybe there is some hope there for Joe Taylor to have a decent career at this level eventually. But no, last January we thought we'd done all right, and realistically we barely won another game following the end of January and the beginning of February. So hopefully this year is much different. But looking at what's been done and what we needed, I think they've done everything they can really to try and have a decent crack at promotion.
Yeah, so credit to everyone. And the last thing to sort of talk about is this Tuesday, Doncaster in the Vertu Trophy. It gets serious at this time, Killer, doesn't it? You get to the quarterfinals, and do you know what? I thought under Lee Grant, Huddersfield Town were going to get to the final in this competition. I felt it. I thought he was serious about this. I think Town will still be serious about Vertu Trophy, but it might potentially take a back seat to making sure everyone's all right for the player front, because Town are now up to 5th, which is great. We're above Bradford City. It's only on goal difference, and we have played 2 games more. So anybody who posts any mind the gap stuff, that'll bite you in the backside quite quickly, because Bradford have got Rotherham and Port Vale at home to play, and they should pick things up from there. Luton beat them. Wycombe look good, so I think Luton and Wycombe look like the 2 teams. I know it's very reactive to say it after a weekend when they both win, but I think those probably the 2 teams that are going to push the playoffs. Bradford and Town probably the most at risk in that playoff picture at the minute to fall out. Bolton, on the other hand, look very, very good and look like the team maybe that could push Lincoln for second, which is interesting. And whether that be a good thing or bad thing for us going to the playoffs, I'm not entirely sure. I don't think anyone would fancy Lincoln over 2 legs, because it'd be very much like if you ever watch the Damn United, where Brian Clough takes his Derby team to Leeds before the European Cup game and they kick the crap out of him before the final. I think even if you came through the Lincoln game, I think you'd be going in an ambulance down there. Not that they're dirty, they're just big and physical and very difficult to deal with. But what we're going to do for this this game, so I think we'll do this very quickly, Killer.
Oh, geography is all that we ever were. Oh, geography is all that we ever were.
Okay, so to the tactics board, I think what we'll do is we won't bother with the Doncaster team for this one because that could be anything. So I think we'll look at the Town team and just say what we think. I think the problem with Town in terms of systems is that when Liam Manning came in, the Barley Mumba thing. So when we talked about the Barley Mumba signing, one thing I think might have mentioned this on the Signed Sealed Delivered. I can't remember completely. So any transfers that we do, if you are a Patreon subscriber, you will get bonus Signed Sealed Delivered episodes where we do talk about the players. And then Matt forgets completely what he said. So moving on to the team, what we've gone out and done is we've got Lyndon Gooch, we've got Sorensen, we've got Mumba, we've got Miller. They're all wingbacks, specialist wingbacks. Town are quite well stocked. So to go to a back four, which I think is Liam Manning's preferred system, might be a bit of a stretch at this moment in time. I think it worked for what it did on Saturday, but I don't see us switching permanently anytime soon. I think Liam Manning will switch, and I think come next season, whatever league we're in, Liam Manning will want to line up in a 4-2-3-1. That's what he prefers, and especially when it goes on about profiles, etc. I don't think he's quite got the profiles yet for a back four, considering Town have gone out and spent quite a lot of money on specialist wingbacks. Even though Lee Grant wanted a back four, we've still gone out and spent money on specialist wingbacks, which is really peculiar. So for me, I think Town stick with the back three, Killer, for Doncaster. I think they may change it in game at some point, but I think Town will go with that. You're probably going to disagree with this because I think you're naturally anti back three by nature.
I am, Matt, but it's more that I don't know we've got available to play the three centre backs because Bolker I don't think will play. I think we've ridden our luck with how much he has played. So there's going to be some change somewhere. And if you look past Wallace, Feeney and Bolker, who have you got available to you? Feeney will definitely play in the centre back, whether it's a 2 or a 3, because he needs sharpness. Wallace plays no matter what because he's rugged and can. It's if you've got a third centre back to put in there, or if you put somebody who hasn't traditionally played there for us in at centre back. I just struggle to see the third centre back, so I would have thought to a 4-2-3-1 for this one. But as you mentioned, I don't think we've got the right players to do that either at the moment.
No, so if we did go 4-2-3-1, so let's kind of pick that here. So if you did want to go 4-2-3-1, you've got Feeney at the back. Who do you partner with? Murray Wallace? Do you think he still continues to play? Because Murray Wallace just kind of feels... It just kind of feels like he could play in Saturday, Tuesday without particularly getting tired, because he kind of doesn't really sprint a lot, whereas Balker's like sprint stop, and it's quite heavy on muscles. But I don't think Murray Wallace can sprint, so he will no doubt be centre back with Feeney. Will that swap them? He does. Right back, I think Sorensen will come in. I think he will play at right back for this one. The question is, left back, does he stick with Barley Mumba or does he put Mikael Miller there? I think he probably sticks with Barley Mumba, doesn't he, for this one?
I'm not sure. I think Miller's a chance in this match just because Mumba's played 4 games in a row. Miller needs fitness. But then
do you think he plays
the option
winger?
is to play him. The option would be to play him higher.
Does Jack Anick play? Do we see Jack Anick for a debut?
Has to play. You need a keeper that's fit. Obviously, Goodman's not here anymore. Neither's your best mate, young man Chappers. So we need to see what Anick's about, and he needs to get used to playing with the defence in front of him that are pretty much first team. Whilst we're resting players here in Bolker and Gooch, it's still a very strong lineup. Whether we do go with a 4, like we're suggesting, or a 3, it's going to be the same guys, just in a different variation, I think.
I suppose the question is, if you make too many changes, you're at risk of being accused of not taking this competition seriously when you're at a quarter-final stage. Jack Anick here, we'll put in, he's number 31. So we think Anick Are we putting Anik in goal? Sorensen right back, Feeney, Wallace. Are we going Mumba or Mikael Miller at left back? I think maybe Mikael Miller and then Cam Ashley, do you think, on the left wing?
That's what I'd be going with, yes. I
Or
think so.
Alves,
He's got to start.
potentially?
Yeah, actually, it has to start. We're skipping the midfield here to the wingers, but actually, it has to start. He's more than earned it. He's barely played recently. He causes every team he plays against trouble. I just want to see him as a high and wide winger rather than just a wing back as well, Matt. I think we've seen him in that quite a few times this year. And whilst I do think he can do the defensive work pretty well, it takes away the best thing he offers, which is chaos going forward and chance creation. Ashley has to get a good 90 minutes on Tuesday night. Is it still straight to penalties? I'm guessing it will be. It must only be the final that goes to extra time as well. But no, Ashley to start on one side. And for me, I think this is a time for Liam Manning to try out Will Alves and see what he can offer. Because, again, he very much is the forgotten man at the moment, isn't he?
Yeah, it just kind of feels like it doesn't quite fancy him, doesn't it? I think Cameron Humphreys plays in midfield. Ryan Ledson tends not to play in these games, does he? He might come on as sub. But the question is, who do you play next to him? Do you put Marcus Harness next to him? Do you keep McGuane? Because McGuane, again, is another one looking for match fitness. So potentially McGuane and Humphreys, do you think, in the middle of the park?
That's an option, but David Kusumu is also another option. It depends, like you say, how serious Manning's taking this competition. We've seen the LinkedIn posts of all the staff that's just left with Lee Grant talking about their achievements of being the top goal scorers in the league, the third best conceded goals record in the division, a playoff place, and also quarter-final of a national cup. So if it was big enough for those boys, Matt, it might be big enough for Liam Manning's boys. Maybe we do give it a decent go. McGuane or Kusumu would be the toss-up for me. I think Ledson, again, he's so important to the way we play, even when he doesn't have a great game, as I didn't think he did on Saturday. He's plug and play every single Saturday when it comes to League One games. He'll be playing at the weekend, no doubt. So you rest him and you try and go with either McGuane to get match fit, because he's still clearly not fully match fit. Total class, but still could probably do with more minutes. But then it's a quick turnaround to a 12:30 game on Saturday. So McGuane or Kusumu, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was Kusumu.
You think Humphreys might play 10 then? Kusumu to play with McGuane?
This comes down to if Alfie May plays, Matt, doesn't it? Because Alfie May is available for this game. And now I think Alfie May will definitely play. Not just because of any other reason that we need him fit when he's back from his suspension 2 league games after this. So I think Alfie May plays. Last time, he also said, remember, after his 3-match suspension that seemed to last 6 weeks because of the way the games fell, that it was the worst period of his life, Matt. That's what he said. He said he struggled with it more than anything.
I don't think he's ever been sent off before, has he?
No, well, unfortunately, he's got the charity FC curse when it comes to we give people things that they didn't have, such as Sean Rowan every minute of every game last year for Lincoln. And then for us, basically, it can't be fit at all. But Alfie May is going to come in and play. So unless you're going 2 up top, I think he's going to be in the 10 role, which leaves you number 9 open for somebody.
I think he'll still pick Dion Charles for this one. I don't think Bobby Wales is going to be quite match fit. I know there's only one way to get match fit, and that's by playing. But I think there might be a halftime swap here at some point, or Bobby Wales get a good half hour, I'd imagine. But I think you have to strike that balance, don't you, of taking it seriously, winning the game, and getting people match fit as well. So I think we've made quite a lot of changes elsewhere. So I imagine Dion Charles will get the nod for consistency. And do you know what, we've gone with this 4-2-3-1. Personally, I think he'll go 3. I think he'll keep with the 3-4-3, and I think the team will be as close to the one on Saturday that started as he possibly can. Apart from maybe Alfie May coming back in for Cameron Humphreys, and then potentially the odd and Ryan Ledson moving out of central midfield for maybe Kusumu or Humphreys. But I think the 4-2-3-1 is maybe what we'd like to see. I think Ashia has done quite well in this tournament. So going back to what we said before about Ashia, he's averaging a goal every 189 minutes, which is pretty good, isn't it? Across all competitions. Yeah. So, I don't think we'll see Alves. I don't. I just get this feeling that Manning doesn't quite trust him. I don't know why, because when we've seen Alves, he's been pretty good. So maybe it's because he's quite slight and he seems to quite favour the sort of physical nature of like Kasuma and whatnot. So maybe that plays into it, but maybe you get away with that out wide rather than at 10. But who knows, mate? So that's what we see. Any predictions on how you think it'll go? Bearing in mind we've been going on for way longer.
Yeah, the most important thing for me is seeing how the nines go, whether Charles or Wales. Whoever gets the most time and does best is probably going to start on Saturday up top, aren't they, at Stevenage? So that's probably the most important thing within the game, by the result itself, to see who earns the spot for Stevenage in a game that is massive and that Stevenage are definitely falling away at the moment, but they're very much in contention for the playoffs competition that we're fighting for. So that's the most interesting part of it. But Doncaster, the form's all right at the moment. Again, we're not doing a driving for this one, so we'll chuck it in here. I think they're 6th or 7th in the form table over the last 6. They're not doing too bad under McCann. They've kind of turned a corner, but they've had easier games. Now, this is League One. If you look throughout the form guide, you can see all of a sudden a team doesn't lose for 6, but they've played the dross at the bottom. And then when they go up to the Stockports, the Lincolns and whatnot, then they struggle until to come to Huddersfield and then do them, and it's absolutely fine. I think I'm with you, Matt. I think we'll take it seriously. I think it's above Liam Manning's head to take it seriously, to be totally honest. I think the way Kevin Nagle likes to run the club and own the club, everything matters, and winning's important. This is a competition we can win, or we could win, until Luton got reinstated after their incident at Swindon, which guarantees them a path to the final and most likely a championship anyway. So apart from that happening, I think we're in good shape. Our squad is deeper than every other team in this division, bar probably Cardiff and Luton, although they may miss hit a lot all the time as well. I think it's a solid win, because even going through that team selection there, Mark, we've rotated a few people in and out. But if it was lining up against Doncaster in a normal League One game, you'd back us anyway. It's just how much Doncaster try and change as well. I don't think they will. I think they'll go pretty much full strength, because obviously their season's quite negative and now they're just trying to avoid relegation, right? When that happens, you do focus on competitions like this, where you only need to win 3 games to get to Wembley. And then it's a successful season if you avoid relegation for Doncaster and do something okay in a Vertu Cup. So for me, Matt, they're going to put a strong team out. I think we'll still be too good for them, and it'll be a tough 2-1 win, though. I don't feel like we're going to run away with anything. I think it's going to be a bit tougher than what most expect. But Town to win 2-1.
Yeah, I think something similar, to be honest. I think Alfie May might score as well in this one against his old club. But for Donny as well, I guess it depends what they're prioritising as well, because we've talked about whether Town will prioritise top 6 or the Cup. Donny have got to choose whether to prioritise safety or the Cup as well. So that, so both teams are in the same situation. I think it's going to be a tough game. I think Town will scrape through, and I'm going to go for Mr. Chaos himself, Cameron Ashier, to maybe snaffle a goal, and Alfie May. But yeah, we'll be happy with that, won't we? Going on way too long again. These podcasts need to be shortened, don't they? I think, Killer, moving forward. But just me and you. Everyone else is buggered off to watch Super Bowl. So Johnny, everyone else, Jerry, Binder's off. So it's just me and you again talking waffle. So we'll be back, won't we, for the drive-in. And if you signed up to our Patreon, you will also get a nice little Doncaster review as well. So I did notice on the Spotify comments, Killer, we've been slagged off by Nick of Down at the Mac fame for not talking about Ryan Ledson's goal. Nick, if you listen to us, you'd know that all our midweek stuff goes on the Patreon. So we did talk about it in much length on there. So if you sign up, Nick, you'll be able to hear about the Ryan Ledson goal and all its angles in all its glory from me and Killer. So have a good weekend. And that goes to everyone else. So thanks for joining us. And we'll be back next week with more episodes for your lovely ear.
There's a team that is dear to its followers. The colours are bright blue and white. They're a team of renown, and they're the pride of the town. And the game of football is their delight. And all the while upon the field of play. Thousands loudly cheer them on the way. Often you can hear them say, who can beat the town today? And then the bells will ring so merrily, and every goal shall be a memory. So town, play up and bring that cup back to Huddersfield. So town, play up and bring the cup back to Huddersfield.